I remembered to hit record, everyone. Welcome, everyone. We're going to give everybody just a minute or two to get into the room. And we'll get started in about 1 minute. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the February morning meetup of the Arts and Culture Accessibility Cooperative Inclusion in Athletic Spaces. My name is Megan Harms, and I'm the Arts and Culture Coordinator with MindsEye, and I will be your facilitator today. I am a white woman in my early 40s with long gray hair. This webinar will be recorded. The recording will be emailed to all registrants in a few days. Along with the recording, you'll also receive a list of resources and a survey, and the video will also be available on MindsEye's YouTube channel. Today we'll be using the Q&A box as well as the raise your hand function. Please feel free to go ahead and drop questions into the Q&A box now and throughout, and we'll get to those at the end. And also at that time is when we'll call on you if you have any questions with the raise your hand function. Closed captions are available today via communication access real-time translation. That means a real person is typing today. So just select the CC button on your bottom toolbar. We also have American Sign Language interpreters with us. They are pinned to ensure they remain on screen throughout the webinar for the recording. For best viewing, we recommend hiding non-video participants by clicking the 3 dots at the top right corner of any participant box. You may also want to pin the interpreters yourself to make sure they stay on your screen if you need them. Their names are David and Chantel. If you want to see the speaker and the interpreter, make sure you switch to gallery view. Live audio description is also available. Just click the interpretation button near the closed caption button on the bottom of your screen. It's a globe. Then choose audio description from the list of languages. You must join the meeting through your computer audio for AD. Unfortunately, you cannot listen to language interpretation if you use dial-in or call me phone audio features. I do want to point out that we are hopeful that in the future we will have a different way to provide audio description. So look forward to that. Chat to everyone has been disabled due to its interference with screen readers. You may still chat directly with me as the host or the panelists, but you can't have chat to everyone. And as I mentioned, you will have a survey after this webinar, both through Zoom, that's that immediate pop-up that comes up, and also during the email that we send out. Your feedback is really helpful to us and to our funders, so please take a second to work on that. It's a really short survey. Also, at the bottom of the screen there, if you aren't already a member of your Facebook, our Facebook group, the ACAC Facebook group, you can find us at facebook.com/groups/ACACSTL. Sorry. We would like to acknowledge that MindsEye is located in Belleville, Illinois, the ancestral lands of many people, including the tribes commonly known as the Sioux, Quapaw, Miamia, Osage, Kaskaskia, and Kickapoo. We also acknowledge those tribes who pass near our area during their forced removal, including the Cherokee, Delaware, Sac and Fox, and Shawnee. The process of knowing and acknowledging the ground beneath our feet is a way of honoring and expressing gratitude for the people on this land before us. This is a map of the St. Louis area with several overlapping colors, all of which represent a different tribe that's lived on this land before us. And you can find this interactive map and make your own map at native-land.ca. And now I would like to introduce our moderator and panelists today. We're going to give everybody a chance to talk, but we're going to go through their bios first, so you can get rid of me, basically. So I am really excited to introduce our moderator today. Mr. Carey Davis is a true champion and St. Louis hero. I know a lot of you guys are familiar with his name. So born and raised in St. Louis, Davis has been a champion on and off the field since high school. He attended Hazelwood Central High School. Of course, we have to say that first, high schools at St. Louis. He attended Hazelwood Central High School and participated in winning a state championship as a sophomore. Davis was a letter winner in multiple sports during his high school years. Due to his success in high school athletics, Davis received an athletic scholarship to play football at the University of Illinois. Go Illini. Davis worked his way to become a 3-year starter and helped lead his team to the first outright Big Ten championship in nearly 20 years. After graduating in May 2003 with a degree in sport management, Davis fulfilled his dream of playing in the NFL. Davis worked extremely hard to solidify his presence in the NFL, and after several tough years, Davis earned the position of starting fullback with the Pittsburgh Steelers in 2007. Davis proved to be a crucial weapon in the Pittsburgh offense and helped lead the Steelers to an amazing Super Bowl 43 victory in 2009. Davis is currently the head football coach at Hazelwood Central High School in St. Louis. He also works for ESPN in St. Louis as an analyst. When he's not attending these tasks, Davis enjoys taking time out of his schedule to speak to youth with the hopes that they achieve more in life. So we're so glad to have Carey with us. And first, I will also tell you all the panelists at once. Sheri Rockledge is the Senior Program Director for Integrated Fitness in the Inclusion and Adaptive Support Department of the Gateway Region YMCA. Integrated Fitness provides one-to-one support by trained, experienced, and certified staff in programs she develops with the participants and guardian in all of the St. Louis County and St. Louis City YMCAs. She develops curriculum, supervises, and trains staff to help each participant reach their goal. Recently, Sheri created several programs to aid participants that were unwilling or unable to travel to the YMCA branches to ensure they are staying social and keeping fit, as well as creating a new employee resource group for diverse abilities, the first of its kind for the Gateway Region YMCA. She is passionate about helping others and spends most of her weekends volunteering at events or social gatherings that aid individuals with disabilities. She enjoys spending time with her family and her 3 adult sons, one of whom shares her passion and is a sign language interpreter. Lauren Carro is manager of DEI and employee experience at the St. Louis Blues. She is new to this role and previously worked as the senior manager of guest experience for the Blues. While different, one thing that is common from both roles is her ability to help the Blues promote a more inclusive and accessible workplace for staff and guests. In her previous role, she helped MindsEye get settled into the Enterprise Center where they were providing audio description for guests. Thank you, Lauren, that was us. She still has the pleasure of coordinating this piece, but is also very focused on the overall experience for employees of the Blues. And finally, Drew Garza is an artist and a blind hockey player in Chicago. He's a member of the Chicago Blackhawks blind hockey team, as well as the director for the Windy City Showdown, a tournament held annually in Chicago. Along with playing, he is the host of the Dented Puck podcast, a show dedicated to sharing stories from the blind hockey community. He's the president of the Dented Puck Foundation, as well as COO of the Hawkeye Guy Foundation, 2 sister nonprofits built to serve the blind community. And I am going to turn off my camera and stop sharing my screen to let these guys take over. And Sheri, would you like to present first? All right.
Absolutely. My name is Sheri Rocklage. I am a white woman in her mid-50s. Carey, I'm from North County. I went to McClure North High School. So I graduated a little bit earlier. I graduated in 1985, but
Okay.
I'm excited that you're from Hazelwood Central. Let me share my screen here. Hopefully I'm doing this correctly. Let me see. How's that? Okay. Let me move you guys over so I can read what I wrote. Okay, so connecting all abilities, integrated fitness, inclusion and adaptive support services, Gateway Region Y. The Gateway Region Y is a nonprofit organization featuring 24 traditional branches in Missouri and Illinois. Guided by our core values of caring, honesty, respect, and responsibility, the YMCA is dedicated to giving individuals of all ages, backgrounds, and walks of life the opportunity to reach their full potential with dignity. Serving communities in need, we are much more than a gym and swim. My department, Inclusion and Adaptive Support Services, is dedicated to providing an inclusive environment where all members and participants are equally part of the YMCA community. And then I'm going to switch slides here. There we go. A supportive environment. The picture here is of our oldest client in the pool with me, smiling at the camera and holding on to the wall of the pool. This particular client is only able to use one of her arms. The other one is bent up towards her chest and she wears a swim belt flotation device. At the YMCA, we believe in improving the quality of life, challenging people of all abilities and supporting independence, self-determination, and self-confidence. Integrated Fitness is a program that is designed to support and instruct individuals with developmental disabilities in a manner that incorporates their interests and develops their socialization skills, physical abilities, and independence in an inclusive environment. Switch to the next slide. So why exercise? This slide has a picture of a participant on an ab machine at a branch of the Y. She's wearing a pink shirt and shorts and has her head thrown back in laughter. Individuals in integrated fitness see an improvement in their physical health, flexibility, balance, cognitive function, independence, self-esteem, and overall life satisfaction. Exercise can also give individuals opportunities for social interactions, and it can cause a reduction of pain, stress, and depression. I'm going to switch to the next slide. Okay, so this is a video, Engaging Diverse Abilities Through Inclusion for All. This video we made explains the department and how we help our participants in the community in their own words. You will hear the Vice President of the Gateway Region Y talking about the Inclusion and Adaptive Sports Department of the YMCA. She discusses integrated fitness, my program, and TeamWorks. At the time, TeamWorks was exclusive to the Illinois Y in Monroe, Illinois, but in the past year has been added to another location at the Edward Jones YMCA in Maryland Heights. This video takes place as a group plays basketball and a participant is working out. So you may hear me in the background counting, but the video of it is really insignificant. It's really the sound and what they're saying that's important. So I'm going to play this video for you. And you may hear the weights clanging in the background because they're showing that she's working out. So, but you'll hear Allison talk about integrated fitness and give her testimonial.
As a YMCA, one of our main missions is to be available for all, and we don't say that lightly. With the Inclusion Services Department, we find that it really provides opportunities for us to be open and serving all members and all participants so that they are equally a part of our entire community. When the
Oh, I am so sorry. Start over again, I'm sorry.
As a YMCA, one of our main missions is to be available for all, and we don't say that lightly. with the Inclusion Services Department. We find that it really provides opportunities for us to be open and serving all members and all participants so that they are equally a part of our entire community. When the Gateway Region YMCA first started this program almost 25 years ago, we were the only dedicated Inclusion Services Department nationally.
7, 8, 9, 10, 5 more.
The Gateway Region YMCA offers a variety of different diverse programs and activities, and one of those that is really neat is our integrated fitness program, and that's actually taking clients and putting them with a one-on-one trained caring staff member to ensure that we are providing very specific programs and activities that they will go through to help them be successful and more independent in their life skills.
In the 6 years I've been in here, I've lost between 20 and 25 pounds. And since I live at home alone, it makes it so much easier to actually function and get out of bed and even do things that people take for granted. If someone says, no, I can't do something, I say, hey, look, watch, I got this. Like doing one-handed pull-ups. I would have never been able to do that like 6 years ago. Now I have the guns, so now I can do it.
One really neat program that's very unique is called Teamworks, and that started at our Monroe County YMCA in Illinois, and it's really for those youth who have graduated from high school because there's not a lot to do after high school. And so this program was developed to make sure that we were providing an opportunity for that older youth to learn job skills, education, health and wellness, and just overall general life skills to live independently. So for inclusion services and adaptive support programming, this is a need that continues to grow. And as a YMCA, we need to be responsive to that growth pattern and where it's going to head. So for YMCAs to really take a hard look at how can they accommodate, what can they do, and it's just the right thing to do to ensure that we're open to all at all times.
That is my wonderful supervisor. She's the vice president of the YMCA, and she's fantastic. So we have the YMCA also added in there. There was a little line that says we are making our locker rooms and more of the facilities are a lot more accessible and user-friendly as of late. So I switched slides, we're on to the program. This slide includes a picture of integrated fitness staff working with a participant in the pool. The water is up to her waist. The staff has their back to the camera, and the participant, who's about 4 or 5 years old, in her arms, the participant is looking at the camera with a big grin on her face. This particular participant is nonverbal and looks forward to her sessions each week. Integrated Fitness provides one-on-one support by highly trained, experienced, and certified staff in programs we develop with the participant and the guardian. Workouts are age-appropriate, encouraging, and fair, while at the same time accommodating the needs of the client. We ensure a safe workout in the pool, fitness center, and most recently, the virtual landscape. Switch to the next slide. Socialization, independence, confidence, and success. This slide has a picture of Sam, who is in his mid-20s, standing, holding his mask and smiling for the camera. Sam wears a gray shirt and has a huge smile because he is so proud of himself. Sam has lost 107 pounds in the integrated fitness program. His mom provided us with a testimonial that I'd like to read. You are truly changing Sam's life. What you do matters. I've been involved in a great deal of programming for people with disabilities over the years, and yours is top tier. The next picture is a picture of me seated in a chair in the office, my laptop on the desk in front of me. I am seated on a green exercise band with it stretched up to my shoulder and pressing or lifting my hand up to the ceiling. That is one of our virtual workouts. During the COVID shutdown, I kept in touch with most of our participants and found that as time went on, our participants were becoming more and more isolated and depressed. I began one-on-one individualized virtual workouts, and we still continue those workouts today for participants that are unable to visit the branches. We have added a virtual seated Zumba to enhance the socialization and fun in a safe environment. So the next slide, we are generously funded by, there's a picture of PLB, our Productive Living Board. They are our funder for the St. Louis County. There's a picture of DDRB, Developmental Disabilities Resource Board of St. Charles County. The Integrated Fitness Program is now branching out to St. Charles County in June, so we will be able to service that area as well. And then there's a picture of DD Resources. They are our funder for St. Charles County. Integrated Fitness is a grant-funded program, which means the one-on-one service is free to the participant who qualifies. They would just need to pay for the use of the facility, which can be done through a membership, scholarship, or an integrated fitness punch card. You do not have to be a member of the Y to receive integrated fitness services. And next slide is where we are headed. There are two pictures on this slide. One is of staff in the pool with a child that is floating on his back with a foam noodle under his back, wearing goggles. The staff is holding him on his back. I am currently working on curriculum to begin adaptive swim at several of the YMCA branches in the next year or so. And the second photo is of the Miracle League. We are partnering with the, it's the Miracle League logo. We are partnering with the Cardinals, and they are creating a adaptive sports complex that will be built onto the South County YMCA and will open up more programming for adaptive sports. And that's all I have for my presentation. I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to present to you today.
Thank you, Sherri. Lauren, do you want to go next and tell us about your program?
Sure, I'd be happy to. Good morning, everybody. My name is Lauren Carro. I am a white woman with blonde hair in my late 20s. I am pleased to join you today. I'm currently working for the St. Louis Blues as the manager of DEI and employee experience. I think the way that I'd like to kick off is to ask each of you a question, and that would be, how do you define inclusion? This is something you can think about on your own, but I think that that's an important place to start, because in my opinion, the definition of inclusion can vary from person to person, and probably more impactful to the person who needs inclusive services the most. By definition, a definition I found online says that inclusion is the practice or policy of including and integrating all people and groups in activities, organizations, political processes, etc., especially those who are disadvantaged, have suffered discrimination, or are living with disabilities. So, with that being said, one area that I think about a lot as it relates to inclusion is inclusion meant to be sporadic, or is it meant to be all the time? And that is something that in my current role with the Blues, I am thinking about every day, because I don't believe that if we are truly seeking to be an inclusive space in the world of sports, that we can only do so on a sporadic basis. I believe that it has to be all the time, and that's something that we have to work for and work towards every day. In my current role, I am focused heavily on the DEI and employee experience for the staff of the St. Louis Blues, Enterprise Center, and Stiefel Theater. For those who don't know, those three entities are essentially all in one. We are all housed under the same roof and all report to the same CEO at the end of the day. However, I'm still very much involved in the experience for our guest as well. Before I was in this role as a manager of DEI, I spent the last 6 years as a senior manager of the guest experience department, which means that I worked managing the part-time event staff and also dealing with our guests at every single event. One thing that, sorry, I need to pull up my notes here. One thing that is important to share is that I think the Blues have come a long way. The Enterprise Center, Stiefel Theater has come a long way in our services and the things that we are offering to guests to be more inclusive. But like most organizations, we still have a long way to go. Some things that we have done from a DEI perspective is recently we have launched 3 employee resource groups, which are hoping, to make the workplace more inclusive for all staff. The groups that we have launched are a Women in the Workplace group, a LGBTQIA group, and a People of Color group. These groups are not only intended for those who identify as members, but also for allies. And the allyship is probably the most important piece because that's how we reach real inclusion for all of those members. Some things that we have currently done within the Blues organization to be more inclusive, specifically for our guests, include a partnership with an organization called Culture City. Culture City is a group that works with entertainment venues and sports venues across the country and across the globe, really, to make venues inclusive for those with sensory processing disabilities. So one thing that I learned through Culture City is that 1 in 5 individuals actually suffers from a sensory processing disability. What can that include? It can be autism, it can be PTSD, it can be ADHD, it can be a number of things where, attending a Blues game with the bright flashing lights and the loud sounds and the energetic crowd, all of those things could be overwhelming to an individual who does have a sensory processing disability. So with our partnership with Culture City, we have undergone training and we have resources on site to be able to help those individuals. So all of our event staff and front office staff have gone through a Culture City training, which is giving them the resources, the information that they need to be able to help individuals that they encounter who might be having an issue, a sensory processing issue at our facilities. And then we also have tools on site to help those guests as well. So we have bags, they are drawstring backpacks that we can offer to those guests that include fidget tools, a cue card, which they can point to that helps them express their emotions, what they're feeling, noise canceling headphones, which are really beneficial for our loud venues. And then we also have weighted lap pads, which can help bring a sense of calm to those guests. We, in addition, with Culture City, we have signage in the venue, which can tell guests that a specific area of the venue might be a loud zone. So it would be a good idea to put their headphones on. We also have dedicated quiet areas, and there's signage available for that. And through Culture City has an app which guests can download, and there is a social story available to them to be able to view both Enterprise Center and Stiefel Theater ahead of time. It has pictures and description of what those guests would expect upon entry, such as going through the security process, finding their seat, visiting the concessions, so on and so forth. So really excited about our partnership with Culture City. We've been a partner with them since 2019, I believe. And our next goal with that partnership is hopefully to create an actual Culture City dedicated room, which some venues have already. And this room would be an area where a guest who, maybe was having an issue with the environment in the building, they can come into that area. It's a quiet space. there is various tools and activities that guests would be able to utilize within that space that would help give them a sense of calm. One example of a room for anybody here who has maybe visited the History Museum in Forest Park, they have a really great Culture City room. And ironically, I was able to take a peek at that room whenever I was attending an ACAC meeting there in the days before COVID. So if you're ever out there, be sure to take a look. We also are excited that we have a partnership with MindsEye, both at Enterprise Center and Steeple Theater. I've been very fortunate over the years to work with Megan and her team, some really great people within the Blues organization, got that program going. One of the MindsEye board members, Liz, really made that program possible, and we've been proud to carry that forward. So we have audio description available for a number of events in both venues. I believe probably the last event that we had was, and Megan, you can correct me on this, was Dancing with the Stars. So that was probably fun. And we're excited that we have MindsEye available to offer those services to our guests. We know that it is impactful and makes a big difference. And another goal of ours would be to expand to more events and not just a select few. Other inclusion activities that we have undergone, I've met in the past few months with a representative from Deaf Inc. to talk about what our venue has to offer to our deaf guests now and areas where it could improve, which there are many. We have taken a look at our current closed captioning services and evaluated how they can be improved. I know from my first meeting with Deaf Inc. that they pointed out just some inconsistencies in our closed captioning services. So we've been able to evaluate that. And a goal that we would have down the road would be to offer that captioning service on the actual center hung. So what you would probably refer to as the Jumbotron in the middle of the arena that hangs down or hangs over the top of the ice. Not very many teams and venues actually offer closed captioning on that center hung, and I would love for us to be able to do that for our deaf guest. So that is a long, drawn out overview of the areas where we are currently offering services that make us more inclusive. But to close out, I would ask each of you to think about what inclusion really means to you. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot in anticipation of this conversation, because I think that we have to be able to really define what inclusion looks like within our organizations, what it looks like now and what it needs to look like to be inclusive of all guests. So think about what inclusion means to you and what you would like to see out of an organization like the St. Louis Blues. And if you have great ideas, I am all ears and will share my contact information afterwards. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, Lauren. And yes, Dancing with the Stars was last. And we have more events coming up. So pay attention to MindsEye's Facebook page. We'll tell you what's happening. We have 2 more Blues games left. Drew, you're up.
All right, cool. My name's Drew. I'm a Hispanic male in his mid-30s. So I'm the president of the Dented Puck Foundation, and as Megan said, the COO of the Hawkeye Guy Foundation. We're 2 organizations that kind of focus on 2 aspects of blind hockey, which is an adaptive sport that's started in 2014 here in the United States. The Hawkeye Guy Foundation's sole purpose is to provide housing and transportation for blind athletes to get to tournaments around the country. The Dented Puck Foundation's purpose is to grow awareness of our players and our sport anywhere that we may be able to. To that end, it is kind of the parent company for the Dented Puck podcast, which is where we pull in blind hockey players from around the country. We talk about their story, kind of how they got there, what it means to them. And then we also have a traveling team called the Dented Pucks that we send to pond hockey tournaments, charity events, things like that, that is comprised of usually about 75% visually impaired hockey players, and then the other 25% would be sighted players. And the Dented Puck Foundation as a whole's purpose is to help programs where they need it. So our big event is the Windy City Blind Hockey Showdown that's held here in Chicago in July. And that's a national tournament that we pull in players from St. Louis, from California, Seattle, New York, Maine, Boston, everywhere. And it was the first broadcast through YouTube event, American hockey, blind hockey event. And we're really proud of that. And last year was our first year. And so we have our second one coming up this July. But our goal, hockey has been very good to the blind hockey community as far as inclusivity. When people find out about us, it's not a, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. It's a, oh, I want to come and do this with you. So our goal isn't necessarily getting us into the rink. Our goal is helping get the visually impaired folks that are out there onto the ice. Because, Lauren, I don't know how familiar you are with hockey, but it's not a cheap sport to participate in. And unfortunately, a lot of the visually impaired and blind community either work, lower income jobs, or they live off of Social Security and things like that. So our main focus is to help teams where they need it and to help players when they need it. And to that end, we're gaining a little bit of traction, but everything starts small, and we're hoping to go bigger. So that's not as impressive as some of these things, but we're hoping that by continuing to push forward and push the narrative of these players, we'll be able to reach others that may want to try it and are unsure about being able to or scared to do it, because sports, I think, just gives a different sense of community to people. And I do think that we're lucky that there are things like goal ball, beat ball, other visually blind sports, but there's something about hockey where you're on a team with a bunch of guys, and it's just a different kind of bond. And so I think that everyone should at least get a little taste of that, whatever that may be to them, whether they want to play, high level, or they just want to go out and skate with their friends. So that's our aim, is to give everyone the opportunity that wants it, the chance to get out there and try it. So that's the Dented Puck Foundation. Thanks for having me here.
Thanks, Drew. Carey, I'm going to just let you take it from here.
About to take over. I didn't know if you were coming back in.
Sorry.
No problem. I'm Carey. I am an African-American man, low haircut, gray and black beard, in my early 40s. Thank you all for allowing me to do this and be here with you all. You all have great stories, and inclusion in sports is the one thing that is very important to me. I think sports are the one thing that brings so many people together from different backgrounds, different ethnicities, different social classes, and sports and working together as a unit are one thing that I think that you hit on, Drew, is the one thing that people can bring together and come together and do. So I'm gonna start with some questions. If you all have questions, you can, I believe, can they raise their hand, Megan, and we'll try to get to them, or go to the Q&A.
Yes.
I'll try to answer those as they come in. But for our panelists, I'll ask you questions, whoever feels. I may have questions directed to certain people. And then if you all just want to jump in and add on, you're more than welcome to. But I'll start with this one. And This is from Liz. She asks, what opportunities are available for people with disabilities to work in athletic spaces, and how do you find these? My son, who has disabilities, is a gifted athlete and loves sports. He would love to find a job in athletics, but it has been tough to find opportunities. Go ahead, Lauren, sorry.
Sure. So I can speak to this both from my previous role with the Blues and currently. I've personally hired various folks with disabilities as part of the guest experience team. So the folks who are welcoming you to the building, helping you find your seat, scanning your tickets, so on and so forth. We do have roles available for individuals with disabilities. Now, depending on the needs of that individual, we would be able to meet and discuss, what that job function might look like. But those jobs are always posted for the Blues on a website called www.teamworkonline.com. That's where the Blues Enterprise Center Stiefel Theater posts all of their open positions. And then from a full-time standpoint, where I'm a little bit more focused now, I would say that I would probably have to talk to each individual as to what those opportunities might look like. But we are actively exploring a new internship program that we hope to get launched this summer, where we would, if it was an individual with a disability, maybe they were able to come in for a couple weeks and experience that internship life, meet with folks from different departments, get a better understanding of the sports industry from the business perspective. So there are some programs that are in the works as it relates to internships and things we have coming up this summer. But from a part-time employment perspective, we do have roles available, and I encourage you to look at Teamwork Online. And again, happy to answer any questions offline. Feel free to reach out to me via email. Thanks.
Carey, the YMCA also has openings, and I actually have staff that have disability as well. But just apply as long as you can do whatever the job is asking, then it shouldn't be a problem.
Thank you. Sheri, during your video, the young lady that you were that was working doing the workouts, one thing she mentioned was determination, and you spoke about inclusion for all. Can you just speak to the amount of determination and what that inclusion for all it looks like, the amount of determination that people with disabilities may have that may be overlooked and not thought of in that type of light? Can you speak to that for us?
That particular client is she loves coming and working out. We don't always have that, but to be able to come to the branch and work out with staff, it's inspiring to me, but it's also that we try to make sure that they're having fun at the Y. We are not a therapeutic program at all. So it's all about having fun. And there are times when we have certain clients that are brought to the Y that they don't want to come. And so we just kind of switch gears because we work on 3 goals. We work on socialization, independence, as well as fitness. So that on days like that, we might have to back out a little bit and just work on social skills. And I've had staff just sit in the lobby and play tic-tac-toe with clients. So, but it's my goal to have all of my staff just very motivating and happy and really engaging all of our clients. Is that the question you're asking?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Drew, we have a question from Sheila. She asks, what are the demographics of the players? Average ages? Are there women players, older adults, younger players?
Yeah, we're all over the age. So I'll take the Chicago Blackhawks blind team that I'm on. We have our goalie is in his late 40s. And then there's probably 5 or 6 of us that are from age 20 to, early 40s. And then what's kind of exciting about the whole program is that the majority of our kids are 8, 10, 12, 13, getting into that, so that kind of coming into their bodies too. So they're learning the sport as they're growing up. But we have women, we have, it's co-ed. There's national teams. There were 2 women on the first US national team. So it's everybody. We don't say no to anybody that wants to try. You could be 89 years old and we'll get you out there with a walker and some skates and make sure you don't fall.
Sheri, you in your video you spoke about younger adults, and Drew, you just spoke about younger kids as well. How important is it to get those younger people involved in those activities while they're at a younger age, to understand, what the inclusion and what their disabilities entail, and how they can work around those, and how they can work with people to have a successful life?
So the Teamworks program, is that what you're talking about, Carey?
Yes.
Okay.
You had in
Yes.
your video, you had younger adults. You said you had the younger adults coming in and showing them how to get started with doing some work after high school. So
Right. We want to make sure that everybody understands that the Y is for, that's one of our lines, right? We are for everyone. I think it even has it as under my signature on my email, my work email. We are for everyone, and we want to make sure that everybody understands that you are always welcome and always accepted, and there are no like Allison said in that video, just you tell me no, I'm going to find another way for you. And we want to make sure that we're advocating for everybody in that way, and that they can advocate for themselves.
Yeah, and to our end, ours isn't necessarily that. For us, for the young kids, we're trying to engender in them that, like, you can do this. This is your sport just as much as it's anybody else's, and you're only limited by what you put on yourself. And so ours isn't is more of an empowerment than trying to teach them how to work with others. I don't, that sounds like we're separating, but we're trying to make them know that, yeah, you may be blind, but you can still do this. Like, this is still yours just as much as it's anybody else's.
Lauren, you I believe you said that inclusion is a continuous activity, and with the St. Louis Blues, I grew up a blues fan as a young Black kid. My first memory of a blues game is watching Brett Hall skate around in pregame and looking at his gold hair, and I thought it was the most amazing thing in the world. What are the Blues plans to appeal to more minority fans?
So that's a really great question. I'm excited that you asked, especially as we are in the midst of Black History Month. We have recently launched and have continuous plans around that topic. So, for example, just yesterday, we actually partnered with Cardinal Ritter, an all-Black school in St. Louis, to bring in the NHL's Black Mobile Hockey History Museum. And it is quite literally I see Drew shaking his head, so he knows what this is. It is a semi-trailer long mobile museum that travels from city to city, and it highlights all of the contributions of Black hockey players since the beginning of time in the NHL, starting with, the contributions of someone like Willie O'Ree. And this was available to the kids at Cardinal Ritter, as well as other community partners. In addition to having that museum at Cardinal Ritter, we also did a panel with a number of Blues front office staff there yesterday. Our community relations team has launched an internship program with Cardinal Ritter as well. So we have 2 high school students, Black students, who have been a part of an internship program here with the Blues this spring. And kind of the capstone project of their internship is they are planning Cardinal Ritter Night at the Blues, where a number of our proceeds from the community relation area in the building will be going back to their school. We also recently have launched the Little Blues program. We launched that late last year. The Little Blues specifically in North City. So North City Little Blues, introducing the game of hockey to young Black kids. And that has been such a joyful program to see. Last week, again, kind of in correlation with Black History Month, those kids were invited to Enterprise Center. They didn't have any idea what they were in for. They got fitted for equipment here in the locker room. They got to go out on the ice and skate around with Ryan O'Reilly, the Blues captain. Our owner, Tom Stillman, was out on the ice with them going through drills. So that program has been a joy. And it has really helped us introduce the game of hockey to, those minority groups. And it is something that we are continuously looking at from an organization is, how do we get more minorities in the stands? How do we grow the game of hockey from a fan perspective? And it's an NHL wide initiative right now, something that every team is looking at, because we know that the game of hockey is a lot of fun. A lot of people say that it is the most exciting live sport to watch. No offense to any football players in the room here. But it is an atmosphere that is unlike many other sports. So growing the game of hockey is incredibly important to the Blues. We have various activities going on. Next week, in correlation with Black History Month, we are taking all of our staff to the Griot Museum here in St. Louis, which is a museum on Black history. So internally, from a staff perspective, externally, from a community perspective, we are doing what we can to grow the game and hopefully reach more people who otherwise wouldn't know anything about hockey. So thanks for asking.
Lauren, I will agree that hockey is a fantastic sport to watch live. It is amazing. Seeing the pace of it and seeing those guys running to the boards is awesome. And in my opinion, as a former football player, I do believe that hockey players are a little bit tougher. I'm not standing in front of Slapshot to say not for any reason at all. So there's no
other sport where fighting is encouraged.
There you go. Yeah, those are tough guys. So I tip my hat to them. Sheri, we had a question from Sheila. She asked, what, if any, are the COVID restrictions that you all may have?
I'm having a hard there. Can you hear me? Okay. So the COVID restrictions right now in the city, we are asking everybody to still wear their mask. In the county, there's a mask mandate just to enter the building, but when you're on machines, you can take it off. So St. Charles, I don't know what's going on there because I'm not really working there yet. So, but that's current. We follow all the safety guidelines. All the machines are clean. You're to clean the machines before and after, and try and stay 6 feet away. Most of the branches have their machines angled in a direction so where you're not facing each other, breathing in each other's face. And I also do the virtual workouts, and then I will do workouts, body weight workouts type of in places that aren't heavily populated. So I have many high risk clients, and so I'm always doing things to try and make sure that they're safe.
Drew, the Dented puck. How did you choose that name, and what is the significance behind it?
Yeah, so blind hockey is a minimally adapted sport. Our goals are 3 feet tall instead of 4 feet to give our goalies a little more time and a little less space to have to cover since they're completely blind. But our puck is the biggest thing. It's 5 inches by 2 inches, and it's made of sheet steel with 8 metal ball bearings in it. So you can imagine as we're shooting it against the boards and the posts, it starts to get those dents in it. And so that's where it came from. But we actually like that because it gives more surface area for those ball bearings to make noise. So it allows us to track it audibly on the ice.
Very good. And this is for anyone, you all can answer. What are some of the biggest hurdles in making these spaces more inclusive?
From our aspect, it's funding. and getting the word out. I think that once you get someone on the ice, whether they know how to skate or we use a walker system for them, it kind of opens their eyes, for lack of a better term, to what they can do and kind of the joy just of skating that they can have. But it's finding proper funding for all these programs and for equipment costs and ice costs and things like that. So I think as far as growing our sport, that's kind of our hurdle to conquer right now.
Lauren or Sherri?
Yeah, so obviously money's a piece of it, but I also think, like Drew was saying, just getting some time to explain the significance for people at the top, for the decision makers to be able to truly see the impact of the programs that would lead us to be more inclusive, I think is probably most important. Like many people, if it doesn't, I think a lot of individuals, if it doesn't affect them, they just don't know. There's kind of blissful ignorance in a lot of situations where, someone at the top of an organization might have never dealt with someone who is blind or who is deaf or who has a sensory processing disability. And so they just aren't informed on all the ways that these programs can be significant. So I think just being an advocate, and that's part of what my role is all about, is being an advocate for the various groups so that the leaders are able to make the decisions that hopefully have the most positive impact. I know that our CEO is all in. That's part of the reason why we created a position. The position that I'm in, manager of DEI, is new. We've never had it before. A lot of NHL teams don't have a dedicated person to these to focus on these initiatives. So we have the buy-in. So it's kind of it's a open plate, so to speak. We can do a lot of great things. It's just spreading that knowledge, I think, is the first and most important piece of that.
That's one of the reasons why we started the ERG, the Employee Resource Group at the Gateway Region YMCA, is to kind of conquer those hurdles. Our CEO is amazing, as well as our vice president. The department's really taking off in a new way. The ERG is really starting to address the issues of inclusion that they're trying, but maybe the soap dispenser in the restroom is not quite as low as it should be. And, it might be ADA compliant, but it's not really user friendly. And when you're working one-on-one with somebody in a wheelchair, you can actually see that. Things like the curb cuts, every branch has them, but sometimes they're blocked. So I want to make sure that is being addressed. And so we opened up our ERG not just to employees, but also to the volunteers of the Y, to give them a safe space and to let them talk and help them find resources on how to make it more inclusive.
Thank you. DEIA is referred to in a lot of spaces these days. What does that term mean for you in the world of sports and athletics? Sherri, either one.
So I want to make sure that I'm interpreting the same way as you. DEIA, with the A being accessibility, correct?
Correct.
So I think that it is just that we can't say that we're an inclusive environment until we've conquered that accessibility piece. And accessibility comes in all shapes and sizes, right? It's every representative of this talk right here. It's making sure that we have services for the blind, for the deaf, for someone in a wheelchair, for anybody who needs it. And that's part of the reason why I asked about making that definition for inclusion, and part of the reason why I say that it can't be sporadic, because from my own perspective here with the Blues, we don't have MindsEye here for every single event. We don't offer audio description for every single event. We don't offer, you know, these services that are so important for every event. And until we can do that for every event, I don't believe that we can say that we are fully inclusive. So that's kind of me knocking my own organization a bit, because we still have a ways to go. But the accessibility piece, yeah, we can't say that we're truly inclusive until we've conquered that and made it accessible for all, not just select groups.
And that's exactly what my department does, is if it's not completely accessible, then we will make sure that you can still utilize that equipment or what you need with a little bit of support. So that's that's what the name of integrated fitness is, and the inclusion and adaptive support services. So we're not entirely there as well, like Lauren said, but you might need a little bit of support. In my particular case, I'm only able to service St. Louis City and St. Louis County right now. So, but if you do need our services and you don't qualify for my program, or you live in a different area, we can still help. It just wouldn't be a weekly one-on-one scheduled thing.
Hey, Carrie, this is Megan. We have a hand raised.
Oh, okay.
Dan, you should be able to turn on your microphone now.
Yeah, thank you very much. I was just wondering, maybe it's more for Drew. I've seen videos over the past couple of years of mostly children that I think about. One in particular is a basketball game, and there was a child that was on the team that had some kind of disability, and so they kind of worked him into the game, and he scored a basket. It was a great moment, and I've seen many of those. And when I think about children in sports and being inclusive, I'm just wondering, and maybe for anybody, but maybe Drew in particular, do we think about the importance of trying to allow children to interact and be part of the team that they're seeing, maybe their siblings are on, or is it more important for them to have spaces like you've created for hockey, where in a way the disability is kind of celebrated and really targeted for that? And again, I think I'm more specifically thinking about children. So Carey or Drew, anybody, and thank you guys very much for this. This is awesome.
Yeah. So because the blind hockey community is so small, we have a little under 300 active players in the United States. A lot of our younger kids have to play in sighted hockey leagues if they want to progress. We have, I want to say 20 teams around the country, but from my perspective, I think that helps them as well, because it gives them a better sense of the game, and it doesn't. I am very appreciative of blind hockey. It gave me a space to be myself again. But the pace of regular hockey is completely different, and there are some things that are taught to regular hockey players that we may not necessarily work on in the blind hockey community, that benefit them in the long run if they decide that they want to play hockey as they get older. So I think it's really up to the player as far as if they're comfortable. I think that it comes down to comfort level, because I'm very lucky. I've got central vision, so I can see where I'm going and things like that. But there are guys that I play with that can't see their hand in front of their face, so they may not want to play with, on their brother's team or anything like that. So I really that's a tough that's a tough question, because it's there is a sense of like separation when this is blind hockey and this is regular hockey. So our goal is to combine the two, because hockey is for everyone, and so we don't want it. We just want to be like, oh, those are hockey players. So I don't know. And I think that since we're so small and young and growing, that's a conversation that we're going to keep having with these young kids that are coming up. sorry, that wasn't really an answer. That was more of
No,
a
it's great. No,
And
thank you.
I can answer that as well. I coach at Hazelwood Central, and we had a young man who was on the autism spectrum. He was kind of our manager, but we allowed him to wear the uniform and dress. And one of the things about this young man is he is an awesome kid. He actually just graduated class of 21. So it was unfortunate during COVID we weren't allowed to have him. He wasn't allowed to be around just because of all of the issues and restrictions and things of that nature. But a great young man that took part of our football team. All of the kids loved him. He loved being a part of it. And he was a football player. I mean, game days, he would wear his jersey to school, and he would be on the sideline and running up and down, and just really a part of our team, and allowed, I'm thankful that his parents allowed us to be a part of his life and his maturation and his growing. And just as I'm sure his parents are proud and glad that we were allowed him to be on our sidelines and be a part of our practices. And he would get knocked down, get up, laugh, and he was really just a football player. And the year before I got there, speaking to kind of those videos you talk about, the coach before I got there did allow him to play in a game and have a moment with the JV and all of those things. So those things are definitely important, in my opinion, for young men and young women to feel included and not feel like they're out there by themselves. So I definitely understand where you came from with that question, and we are definitely appreciative for that young man and all the young men and women like him.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, so I spoke about DEIA and what that term meant in the world of sports. Do you all have any success stories that have to do with DEIA and the efforts that have come along with those? Lauren shaking her head, yes.
So I think, yes, we have some successes, but also some plans that really focus on the community. I know something that I've been just in meetings for this week is that the Blues in April we have, like many organizations, different theme nights. So Star Wars night and Mom's night out and so on and so forth, where you can buy a special ticket, you get a little swag item, so on and so forth. One of our theme nights this year in April is Pride Night, focused on the LGBTQ community. And we've been having a lot of conversations about how we can make hockey more inclusive from the LGBTQ perspective. Like a lot of just as hockey doesn't tend to have a lot of minority fans, there's also not a lot of participation from individuals within the LGBTQ community, a lot of times out of fear, because they're concerned that they won't be accepted. And so what we're trying to figure out how we can make hockey more inclusive for everyone. Drew said hockey is for everyone, and we believe that. So we have some really exciting things planned to help include members of that community. So I can't necessarily say that it's a success story, but let's touch base after April 6th, and hopefully we'll have some good successes there.
So Drew, one thing you said just in the question that Dan asked, hockey, this allowed you to be yourself again. Can you speak to the obstacles you face transitioning from a sighted player to a partially sighted athlete? We got you on mute. I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
There we go. Sorry, I thought I pushed it. So I guess just a quick background, because it's out there. So I lost my sight to diabetic retinopathy, which is a little different from most of the guys that I play with. It's genetic disorders. So I lost my sight when I was in my late 20s. And the first thing I said to my wife when I got out of the last doctor's appointment was, I'm never going to play hockey again. And I think that you just adjust. You think that everything's fine. You go about your day, but there's always something missing. And then I found the Blackhawks blind team, and they, like I said in the beginning, being on a team and being in that atmosphere just is a different kind of chemistry. It's a different kind of family. And to be able to find that along with a group of people that share in my disability, and we can talk to each other. I go in and I say, oh man, I just ran into that locker room door trying to get in here, and one of the guys like, oh yeah, I did that too, I should have warned you. Like it's a different it's a different mindset, and I was really missing it. And as soon as I found it, as soon as I stepped on the ice, I knew that I was back. And I think it just gives it just gives you a sense of being and belonging. And I think that that's something that everyone should have. And again, being able to do it in arguably the best sport in the world is always a great opportunity.
Sheri, you spoke about some of the things that we may not think about, such as lowering soap dispensers and making more things accessible. Are there any other things, and any one of y'all can, Drew, you just talked about, the door and your team may not reminding you that it's there. Are there any other things that take place like that we may not be aware of and can help or try to absolve and work towards those things to making those things better?
Absolutely. So there's things, like I said before, it might be ADA compliant, but it might not be user friendly. So things like the door button to open a door, it might, you have a person in a wheelchair that only has the use of one arm, presses the button, puts their hand on that control to go through, and the door will shut while they're going through. Or rugs by the door, a person in a walker might scooch that up with them. So you really have to be aware of those. The soap dispensers, and even just the transferring from a wheelchair to anything, even in the restroom. Also in the restroom, they have the, you have, in the women's anyway, you have a child diaper changing station, and sometimes they put those in the bigger restroom stalls for women anyway. And if it's down, somebody in a wheelchair cannot enter that stall. So those are things that people need to be more aware of. Also, parking in near curb cutouts or parking in the handicap spot is, or even in those little lines that are by the handicap spot, those are for vans that might need to have that spot accessible for the person that's inside that van to exit the van. So being aware of those things and putting a stop to it, calling people out when they're parking in those places, and that sort of thing. Yeah, that's a big transitioning to and from pieces of equipment might take a couple of minutes. So those are big issues that we want to tackle in that ERG that we started.
Lauren, Drew, anything?
Yeah, we had a gentleman out last fall to the Enterprise Center who is in a wheelchair, and we walked through every level of the building with him, getting insight on ways that we are or are not accessible for somebody in a wheelchair. And it was very eye-opening, just to some of those things that we think are just so simple that we take advantage of, that would be very, very challenging for an individual in a wheelchair coming into our venue. Of course, we talked about parking. It was the number one, probably complaint that we get from our wheelchair community. Like Sheri said, it's hard. That's an area that we have little control over when other people are selfish and block those accessible spaces. So that's a great, like Sheri said, have that conversation if you need to, because it really makes the difference for someone being able to come to your venue. But just like credit cards, the credit card kiosk that we have at all of our concession stands, can someone in a wheelchair get to those? We talked about the restrooms. One thing that really stood out to me that he mentioned was that if possible, he tries to use a family restroom because men's restrooms are just so dirty. And he said that when he thinks about going into a public men's restroom, he knows that his wheelchair is going to his house when he gets home. He goes into the restroom, whatever gets on his wheels in that restroom are going with him into his house later that night. And so just that thought of, oh my gosh, I wouldn't want to put my bare feet on the floor of the restroom at the Enterprise Center. That's essentially what he's relating his wheelchair to. And that was just a really just kind of meaningful thing that he had said. So we did take a lot of notes. We worked with our food partners to talk about just like those credit card machines and things like that. We have a long way to go, but we've been having those conversations about accessibility here.
Yeah, Lauren, alcohol in men restrooms are not ideal. It's pretty bad. So it seems to me that the main thing that needs to take place is just having those conversations, more and more open conversations, as you said, making sure that people are not parking in those spaces that are delegated for people that need access with wheelchairs and things of that nature. Is there anything that I'm missing, or that we can is there anything that we can do, Drew, to further that communication, things that are not being said that should be said, maybe the kind of the ugly truths or things that need to be heard but aren't being said in forums for the people that need to hear them?
I mean, I think that both Sheri and Lauren both said it. It's a work in progress. We're always trying to push the needle forward. And as coming from someone with a disability, I think a lot of us are just appreciative that organizations and businesses are taking these next steps to try and make everything inclusive. It's not going to change overnight. There's nothing that you can't flip a switch and all of a sudden everyone's good. So just knowing that they're at least cognizant of it and they're trying to make those steps. For some people, it may not be fast enough, but I'm more of a slow burn kind of guy. So I know that things have their proper procedures and it's all a process. So and just for instance, when we were in St. Louis at the Centene Center, and they offered to take all the players around the rinks to know where the bathrooms were and where the water fountains and locker rooms and things like that. And just the fact that they were like, hey, we're going to make sure that you are comfortable in this space was a huge thing for all of us. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as we're making advancements, and we're on the right track.
Okay, got a few more questions. If anyone has questions, please raise your hand or hit the Q&A button. I'd be glad to ask those. This, I guess, is for Sheri and Lauren. Are there any membership or ticket initiatives currently designed to help increase diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility?
So my particular program, if you qualify for my program, yes, you get to see the instructor one-on-one for free because we are a grant-funded program. There are some other companies or nonprofits that help in that situation. We also offer scholarships to people that qualify. So that's all done through the membership section. You have to, have your tax information and all of that. But there are some. It's not specific just to a disability. My program, you get in essence, you either get the swim instructor or the personal trainer for free for you if you qualify for the program. You just have to pay for the use of the facility, which would be either becoming a member, getting a scholarship. Both of those things would give you full access to the facility without integrated fitness staff, or then we have the integrated fitness punch card. If you don't want to be a member, you can still use the service and just purchase the punch card. But the drawback with that is you would have to be there only during your scheduled time with integrated fitness staff.
Carey, can you repeat that question for me, please?
Yep, no problem. Are there any membership or ticket initiatives currently designed to help increase diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility?
Sure. So I think the theme nights that I talked about, where we are, targeting specific communities, like our Pride Night would be an example for us. In terms of other ticketing initiatives, I'll be honest, I don't know that we have any specific ticketing initiatives that would be targeting the DEI, community, so to speak. But that's a good thing that I'm going to make a note about now.
All right, so my last question, and then I think Megan has a 5-minute video for us to watch. And all of you all can answer this. What are some things that you are hoping to accomplish in 2022? And any long-term projects that you have been working on or began to work on?
So 2022, we are hoping to break ground on the new adaptive sports complex that is being built onto the South County branch of the YMCA. And we are taking over a current Miracle League that's now in play. We are going to be doing our programming there out in Chesterfield. And I am also expanding out into St. Charles starting in June or beginning of July in the St. Charles area. So we're able to reach out and help more people that way.
For myself and within the Blues organization, one of our 2022 goals includes just promoting more diversity within our workforce. So we're trying to come up with specific targeted programs that helps our workforce become more diverse, partnering with organizations or schools in the area like Harris Stowe University, or places where we can really find great diverse talent. From a front office perspective, that's one of our goals. We're also hoping to continue to grow our ERG, employee resource groups, into other categories. And then just from a full organizational perspective, just grow the game of hockey for minority communities, for people who maybe have just never had the ability to be introduced to it, whether it's from financial constraints or the hockey just was a foreign concept to them. So growing the game and then hopefully creating a more diverse and equitable workforce for the front office.
Yeah, and for us, we're going to be working with Abilities Expo and trying to get more blind hockey demos out there to share with as many people as possible. We're hoping to get our second tournament off well here in Chicago, and just kind of keep pushing the narrative and sharing the stories of our players through our podcast. So ours is just kind of keep doing what we're doing and hope for the best.
Well, I thank you all for your time, for your stories, for the work that you all are doing. It is a blessing. It is definitely appreciated by all. Anything that I can do to help, please let me know. Reach out. I would definitely love to help and partner with you all in any way possible. Megan, if you want to come back on, I know you have a video you'd like to show, so I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. This is a quick video. It is specifically about inclusion and athletic spaces, and I will play it and then I'll meet you on the other side. So. Fireworks explode over a home decorated with red paper lanterns. Inside, children cut strips of red paper and string to make another. A picture on the wall sparkles and shining lights fly across the room to the half-finished lantern as a child adds a row of gold birds. A woman pushes one child in a wheelchair and the others trot along next to them with the lantern. Outside, the lanterns covered with snow glows and lights twirl around it. A snow body with a gold scarf forms. It shakes and snow flies off, revealing red arms and legs, and on the belly is a white circle where the Beijing Paralympics logo appears. Shui Rongrong, the Paralympics mascot, bounces along the snow-covered avenue under bursting fireworks, then shoots through the air. On a frozen pond, a top swirls between skaters and sledders and turns into a curling stone. Shui Rongrong leaps from the pond onto a snowboard and sails through the air before hitting the slopes. Snow shoots up behind him as he zips down the hill. He jumps into the air, and his snowboard disintegrates and reforms into a monoski with two poles as he comes back down. As he glides across the icy pond on one foot, the Paralympics logo appears like magic beneath him as he skates. Shui Rongrong, the mascot of the Beijing 2022 Paralympic Winter Games. So the reason I'm sharing this, aside from the fact that I love mascots and I do a lot of audio description, you might have recognized my voice. That's my voice doing the audio description. For those of you who have not heard, I will be providing live audio description for NBC and Peacock during the Paralympic Games. So that's very exciting. And there is no blind hockey in the Paralympics currently. I will be doing sled hockey, however. So Drew and Lauren, we might have some discussions about hockey coming up. Also, there is audio description available currently for the Olympics, only during prime time. And we've posted some info, and we'll post it again on MindsEye's Facebook page about how you can listen to that during the Paralympics. Everything is audio described. So I will be up in the middle of the night describing things. I'm not going to China. I am going to Connecticut to be at NBC with all of the other NBC broadcasters and announcers. So it's very exciting. And so that's a little bit of a combination there of inclusion in the sport itself, and also as spectators, how people can also participate. So it's really exciting, and I hope you guys all are able to listen to me. I will not just be in the middle of the night. It will be, it's a team of 4. So we'll be describing everything Paralympics. Hopefully I will not be doing wheelchair curling. I'm American. I don't know a lot about curling, but that's something that's happening. So I wanted to share that with all of you.
Megan, I think I just want to take a second to recognize how fantastic you are. You're doing so many great things. The audio description program that MindsEye has, I know, is just blooming, doing so much. This is a huge professional moment for you. So kudos to you. The ACAC committee, that's all you. I know you get help from a lot of people, but you're doing fantastic work. So kudos to you.
Thanks, Lauren. And we are out of time. I apologize for any other questions that we didn't get to. Actually, if you have one more minute, there is one question from Laura Wimmer in the Q&A. From someone with multiple limitations from my disabilities, there are accommodations that can actually limit someone else. Individuals with dwarfism have height limitations and orthopedic restrictions. Individuals with hearing impairments need to see the face for lip readings, which is a struggle. Gateway HLAA would like to partner with organizations. What assistance would organizations like from someone who can offer input? And Laura is a special ed teacher and advocate for mobility and hearing. And also, Laura, if you can email me your info, that would be great too. So I can have that and I can share it out with the resources. That would be spectacular. And I'm going to send you an email shortly. So if anyone else has any thoughts on that too.
Yeah, I think I would be, interested to connect Laura, maybe offline to learn more about what, you have to say on this topic, because all we can try to do is keep learning more. There's a million things that I'm certain that I haven't thought of. So I'd love to connect and learn more from you if you're open to that.
Great. And I have just a few last slides to get through here. Before we go, our next meetup will be in April. Note that it's April 27th because of the Easter. And we are going to discuss service animals, which is exciting. That's actually International Service Animals Day. International Service Animals Day is April 27th. So we'll be talking about that specifically. Also, thanks for the segue, Lauren, because I am doing a lot of things and I need an assistant. So it would be really great if some people applied to work with me. There's a QR code on the screen. There's also a bit.ly/AD job description, and you can join us. And this person will be working with audio description and with the ACAC. So that would be great. Also, we are currently looking for sponsors for ACAC, specifically for accessibility, to pay for our service providers. So that would be, please email Laura at lfoughthy@mindseyeradio.org. And speaking of sponsors, thank you to our February ACAC accessibility sponsor, the St. Louis Blues. Thanks, Lauren. And thanks to our regular sponsors, Ameren, Illinois, Lighthouse for the Blind, St. Louis, and of course, the United Way of Greater St. Louis. And thank you to our wonderful, wonderful panelists. It was awesome today. And thanks everybody for being on time. I love you all. Thanks to Carey, thanks to Lauren, Sheri, and Drew. And thanks to our service providers, our ASL interpreters, David and Chantel, our CART interpreter from Here Inc., LaDonna, and our audio describer, Sarah. And thank you. We hope to see you on the 27th. And don't forget that you will be getting an email from me with a bunch of resources. If anyone has any questions that we did not get to, please email them to me today. You probably have 97 emails from me already, so you should have my email address. Yeah, if anybody has any questions, email them to me and I will get them out to everyone else. And Laura's dropped some info in there. So Laura Wimmer's dropped some info in the chat, Lauren, so make sure you take a look at that. And thank you to everyone. We're right at 10 o'clock, so we're gonna call it. And that's all I have. So thanks, everybody. Bye.